Hello everyone, my name is Sarah, and today I want to talk to you about learning English. Learning English changed my life. It helped me make friends and gave me more chances. At first, I was scared. I didn't know many words, and my accent was different, but I didn't stop. I learned slowly, just like a baby learns to walk. Sometimes you may feel shy to speak, maybe you are afraid of making mistakes, but remember, making mistakes helps you learn. If you don't try, you can't improve. Learning English is like learning to swim. At first, it feels scary, but once you start, you feel better. The more you practice, the easier it gets. One way to learn is by listening to English. When you listen, you get used to how words sound. You learn new words without even trying. It's like listening to your favorite music. You can also practice by talking to friends or even talking to yourself. That I talk to myself in English sometimes. It feels funny, but it helps me. You can ask yourself questions and answer them. The more you talk, the better you get. It's okay if you don't know many words. You don't need to know big words. Simple words are enough. Just try to say what you want. People will understand. When I started, I was scared people might laugh at me, but I learned that if I don't speak, I can't get better, so I spoke anyway. Most people were kind and helped me. If you feel nervous, that's okay. Take a deep breath, smile, and start talking. That it gets easier every time. Another way to learn is by reading out loud. When you read, your brain gets used to words. It's like exercise. The more you do it, the stronger you get. If you don't know how to say something, ask for help. We all need help sometimes. Asking questions is how we learn. Believe in yourself. If you think you can't do it, it will be hard, but if you believe you can, you will get better. Learning English is like climbing a mountain. You don't get to the top in one step. You take small steps, one by one. Before you know it, you will be at the top. Start today. Speak English as much as you can. Don't worry if it's not perfect, just speak. Learning English is like planting a tree. You water it every day, and it grows slowly, but one day it will be tall and strong. Remember, it's not about how fast you learn, it's about never stopping. Keep going, and one day you will say, I did it. I remember the first time I spoke in English. My heart was beating fast. I was scared I would make a mistake, but I spoke anyway. Even though I made mistakes, I was proud that I tried. Speaking English is not about being perfect, it's about being brave. Every time you speak, you are getting better. When I started, I watched in English. I didn't understand much, but I kept watching. I paid attention to how people spoke and used their faces and hands. I learned that speaking is not just about words, it's about feelings too. When you speak, don't be afraid to show your feelings. Smile when you're happy, frown when you're confused. Language is how we share our hearts. Sometimes you might feel stuck. You may think you're not improving, but that's normal. Learning is like climbing a hill. Some days are fast, some are slow, but you are always moving forward. Set small goals. Point one day, focus on new words. The next day, focus on speaking clearly. Little by little, you will improve, and when you learn a new word or have a conversation, celebrate. Every step is an achievement. I also wrote a journal in English every night that I wrote about my day. It helped me think in English and get better. When you practice speaking, try thinking in English. At first, you may translate in your head, but over time, you will think in English more easily. Find friends who want to practice with you. You can speak English together. The more you practice, the better you will get. Keep practicing and keep believing in yourself, you will improve. Chapter 2. Hello again, let's talk more about practice. Practice is the key to learning English. The more you practice, the better you will get at first. It may feel hard, but don't give up. Think of learning English like playing a sport. The first time you play, it's difficult, but the more you practice, the easier it gets. Learning English works the same way. Every day, try to practice a little bit. You don't need to practice for hours, just 10 or 15 minutes a day can help you improve. You can start by listening to English. Listen to songs, podcasts, or watch videos in English. At first, you might not understand everything, but don't worry, your brain is still learning. When you listen, pay attention to how words sound. Try to repeat the words. This will help you get used to the sounds of English. The more you listen, the easier it will be to understand. Another way to practice is by reading. You can read books, news articles, or even social media posts. Start with easy texts, like children's books or simple news. As you get better, you can read more difficult things. When you read, try to say the words out loud. This will help you practice speaking too. It's like getting 2 lessons in one. You can also write in English. Start by writing simple sentences. Write about your day or things you like. Don't worry about making mistakes, just keep writing. Over time, your writing will get better. Speaking is very important too. Find someone to practice speaking with. If you don't have anyone, try speaking to yourself. You can pretend you are talking to a friend, ask yourself questions and answer them. The more you speak, the more comfortable you will feel. You don't need to speak perfectly. It's okay to make mistakes. Every mistake is a chance to learn. It's important to practice every day, even if it's just a little bit. If you miss one day, don't worry, just keep going. Little by little, you will improve. When I started learning English, I practiced every day. Some days I didn't feel like it, but I still did it, even if it was only for a few minutes that I practiced. Over time, I got better. You can also practice by using apps or online tools. There are many free apps that help you learn English. Some apps let you talk to people from around the world. You can practice with them and learn new words. If you make a mistake, don't be sad. Mistakes are part of learning. If you don't make mistakes, it means you're not trying, so always try to speak, even if you feel nervous. Another way to practice is by watching movies or TV shows in English. At first, it might be hard to understand, but with time, you will catch more words. You will also learn how people speak in real life. Try to watch with subtitles, This will help you see the words and hear them at the same time. After a while, you won't need subtitles anymore. It's also helpful to find a study buddy. A study buddy is someone who helps you learn English. You can practice speaking together, listen to English, and share new words. You can learn faster with a buddy. They can also give you tips on how to sound more natural. One of the best things you can do is immerse yourself in English. The more you hear English, the easier it becomes to understand. Remember, learning English is not a race. Everyone learns at their own pace. Some people learn quickly, and others take their time. That's okay. The important thing is to keep going and practice every day. When I learned English, I didn't understand everything at once. I didn't know all the words, but I kept going. That I listened, I spoke, and I practiced. Slowly, I began to understand more and speak more clearly. Another tip is to set small goals. You don't need to learn everything in one day. Set a goal to learn 5 new words a day, or try to practice speaking for 5 minutes. These small goals will help you feel good about your progress. You will see that you are getting better every day. That it's also helpful to track your progress. Write down the words you learn. Keep a list of new phrases. This will show you how much you've learned and keep you motivated. Lastly, don't forget to have fun. Learning English should be exciting. Find ways to enjoy it. Watch fun shows, read books you like, or play games that teach English. When you enjoy learning, it becomes easier and faster. Remember, learning English is a journey. That it takes time, but every step brings you closer to your goal. Keep practicing, and soon you will see how much you've learned. So every day, take time to practice. Listen, speak, read, and write. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. The more you practice, the better you will get. You can do it. Chapter 3. Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about something very important: fear. When we learn something new, it's normal to feel scared or nervous, but you can overcome this fear and build confidence. That I remember when I first started speaking English, I was afraid people might laugh at me. That I worried that I might make a mistake or say the wrong thing. But you know what? Everyone makes mistakes. It's part of learning. The first step to overcoming fear is understanding that it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are not bad, they help you learn. The more mistakes you make, the more you grow. When I started speaking, I was nervous. My voice would shake, and I would forget words, but I kept speaking anyway. I realized that the more I spoke, the less I felt afraid. One way to fight fear is to remind yourself that you are learning, not trying to be perfect. When you focus on learning, you stop worrying about being perfect. It's okay to make mistakes and not know everything. Another way to overcome fear is to practice every day. When you practice a lot, you get better. The more you practice, the more confident you feel. It's like learning to ride a bike. At first, it's hard, but after practicing, it gets easier. Start by speaking in front of a mirror. Look at yourself and speak in English. This will help you practice and feel more comfortable. you can also practice with your family or friends. That if you don't have anyone to practice with, don't worry. You can practice by yourself. Talk out loud when you're doing something like cooking or cleaning. Pretend you are talking to someone. This will help you get used to speaking in English. It also helps to set small goals. When you reach a small goal, you will feel proud and more confident. For example, you can set a goal to learn 5 new words today, or you can try to speak for 10 minutes without stopping. Remember, you don't need to speak perfectly. You just need to try. If you make a mistake, it's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. The important thing is that you are trying. When I first started, I thought everyone would laugh at my accent, but I soon learned that people are kind. They don't laugh at you. They want to help you. If you don't know a word, ask them. People like to help when you are learning. Another way to feel more confident is by listening to English. When you listen to English, you get used to how it sounds. You learn how people speak and how they use their words. The more you listen, the more you will understand and feel comfortable. Also, when you listen, you can learn new words and phrases. You will hear how native speakers say things. This will help you speak more naturally. So try to listen to English every day, even if it's only for a few minutes. Don't forget to smile. Smiling helps you feel more confident. When you smile, it makes you feel happy and less afraid. If you smile when you speak, it can also make others feel more comfortable. It also helps to remember why you are learning English. When you remember your reason, it can give you strength. Maybe you want to travel, make new friends, or find a better job. Whatever your reason is, think about it every time you feel scared. One way to build confidence is by reading out loud. Alright, everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to share something really important with you. How I learned English alone without a teacher. Yes, you heard it right. I didn't go to any special school, I didn't have any private tutor, and I didn't spend a lot of money on expensive courses. I learned English all by myself, and guess what? You can do it too. When I first started learning English, I was a little scared. I thought, can I really do this on my own? But over time, I realized that learning English alone is not only possible, but it can also be fun and exciting. You just need the right approach, some good resources, and a lot of practice. In this video, I'm going to tell you everything about my journey, how I started, what methods I used, and the challenges I faced. If you're trying to learn English by yourself, trust me, you're not alone. Many people around the world are doing it, and you can do it too. So stay with me until the end, because I'm going to share my best tips and experiences with you. Let's get started. English is everywhere. Everywhere. It's on the internet, in movies, in music, in books. Almost everywhere you look, you can find English. I realized that if I wanted to improve my life, understand the world better, and have more opportunities, I had to learn English. At first, I didn't think English was important for me. I thought I could live my life without it, but slowly, I started to see how much I was missing. When I watched movies, I couldn't understand the dialogues without subtitles. When I listened to music, I could only enjoy the melody, but I had no idea what the lyrics meant. And when I wanted to read interesting books or articles online, most of them were in English. It was frustrating because I felt like I was limited. I wanted to be able to understand, to connect with people, and to enjoy the things I loved without depending on translations. One day, I had an experience that really changed my perspective. I remember watching an interview with one of my favorite celebrities. I was so excited to hear what they had to say, but the video didn't have subtitles. I could only understand a few words, and I felt disappointed. Realized that if I knew English, I wouldn't have to wait for subtitles or translations. I could understand everything on my own. That moment made me think, I have to do something about this. I want to understand English. Another reason I wanted to learn English was because of my career. I knew that if I wanted better job opportunities, English would help me a lot. Many companies prefer people who can speak English because it allows them to work with international clients and expand their business. I wanted to improve my skills and have more opportunities in the future. Even if I didn't plan to work in an English-speaking country, I knew that speaking English would open many doors for me. But it wasn't just about work. I also wanted to travel. I have always dreamed of visiting new places and meeting people from different countries, but I knew that without English, it would be difficult. Whether I traveled to Europe, Asia, or America, I knew that English would help me talk to people, ask for directions, and enjoy my trip without any problems. And of course, one of the biggest reasons I wanted to learn English was to connect with people. I have always been interested in making new friends and learning about different cultures. English is a language that connects people from different backgrounds. I wanted to be able to chat with people online, join international communities, and learn new things from others. When you know English, you can talk to people from all over the world and learn so much from them. At first, it felt like a big challenge. I thought, can I really do this? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that learning English was not just an option, it was something I needed to do if I wanted to grow and achieve my dreams. So, I made a decision. I told myself, no matter how difficult it is, I will learn English. I will practice every day and improve step by step. So, that's why I wanted to learn English. It wasn't just for fun, it was for my future, my dreams, and my personal growth. And if you're watching this and you also want to learn English, remember this. You have your own reasons, and those reasons will keep you motivated, no matter how hard it seems at first. If you stay consistent, you will improve. I didn't know which method was best, what resources to use, or how to stay motivated. It felt a little overwhelming at first because there were so many options: books, videos, apps, websites, and more. Kept asking myself, where do I begin? At that time, I didn't have much money to spend on expensive courses, so I had to rely on free or low-cost resources. I found a lot of suggestions, but I didn't know which ones would actually work for me. I decided to try everything one by one and see what helped me the most. The first thing I tried was books. I thought books are a great way to learn, so I went to the library and borrowed a few basic English grammar books and dictionaries. I started with simple things, learning basic words, common phrases, and some grammar rules. But to be honest, it was really hard at first. The books were full of rules and exercises, and sometimes I felt bored or confused. Some words were too difficult, and I had to check the dictionary again and again. One of the biggest challenges with books was staying motivated. Studying alone with books can feel a bit lonely, and I often felt like I wasn't making much progress. But I told myself, it's okay. Every small step counts. I started reading short stories for beginners because they were easier to understand and more interesting than grammar books. This helped me build my vocabulary and understand sentence structures better. After struggling with books, I decided to try something more fun: videos and movies. I started watching English movies with subtitles. At first, I only watched movies with subtitles in my native language, but later I switched to English subtitles. It was difficult at first because people spoke too fast, and I couldn't catch every word. But I didn't give up. I paused the video, wrote down new words, and repeated the sentences to practice pronunciation. One of my favorite things to watch was YouTube videos. There are so many channels that teach English in a fun and simple way. Watching real conversations helped me a lot because I could hear how people actually speak English in daily life. The biggest challenge with videos was understanding fast speech. Native speakers talk quickly, and they use slang and idioms that I didn't know. Sometimes I felt frustrated because I couldn't understand everything, but I reminded myself that it was normal to feel this way in the beginning. I focused on improving little by little, and with time I could understand more and more. Another thing that helped me a lot was using mobile apps. I found some great apps for learning vocabulary and practicing grammar. Apps made learning more interactive and fun. I could practice for 10 or 15 minutes every day, and it felt like playing a game rather than studying. One of my favorite features in these apps was the word of the day. Every day, I learned a new word and tried to use it in my sentences. However, using apps also had challenges. Sometimes I relied too much on them and forgot to practice speaking. The apps were great for vocabulary and grammar, but they couldn't help me practice real conversations. I realized that learning English is not just about memorizing words, it's also about using them in real life. One of the biggest challenges I faced was speaking. Since I was learning alone, I didn't have anyone to practice with. I was afraid of making mistakes and felt shy when trying to speak English. At first, I just practiced speaking to myself in front of the mirror. I used to introduce myself, talk about my day, and describe things around me. It felt a little silly, but it actually helped me gain confidence. Later, I started talking to myself in my head throughout the day. When I was walking, I would describe things I saw in English. Another important step I took was writing. I kept a small notebook where I wrote down new words and phrases every day. I also wrote short paragraphs about my day, my thoughts, and my goals. Writing helped me remember new words and practice grammar in a natural way. At first, my writing was full of mistakes, but I didn't worry about it. I focused on expressing myself, and I slowly improved over time. I started writing longer texts and even tried writing emails in English. Of course, learning English alone wasn't easy. I faced many challenges along the way. Sometimes I felt frustrated because I wasn't improving as fast as I wanted. There were days when I felt like giving up because learning a new language takes time and effort. One of the hardest things was staying consistent. At the beginning, I was very excited, but after a few weeks, I started losing motivation. Some days I didn't feel like studying, and I thought, maybe I'll learn later. But I knew that if I stopped, I would forget everything I had learned. So, I made a study schedule and tried to practice English for at least 30 minutes every day. Another challenge was pronunciation. Some English sounds were very different from my native language, and I struggled to say certain words correctly. I practiced by listening to native speakers and repeating after them. It was difficult, but I kept going because I knew that practice makes perfect. Despite all the challenges, I found ways to stay motivated. I reminded myself why I wanted to learn English, to improve my life, to travel, and to have better opportunities. I also celebrated small achievements, like understanding a full sentence in a movie or having a short conversation in English. I also followed motivational stories of other people who learned English alone. Seeing their success made me believe that I could do it too. So, those were my first steps in learning English. It wasn't easy, but it was definitely worth it. If you are starting your English learning journey, remember that the beginning can be hard. But if you stay consistent and keep practicing, you will improve step by step. In the next part 1 will tell you how I practiced English every day and what methods helped me the most. When I first started learning English, I knew that practicing every day was the most important thing. I told myself, if I practice a little bit every day, I will improve step by step. But it wasn't always easy. Some days, I felt motivated and excited, but other days, I felt tired or lazy. However, I learned that consistency is the key to success. Even when I didn't feel like studying, I tried to do something small, maybe listening to a song or reading a short article. At the beginning, I didn't have a fixed schedule, and that made it difficult to stay consistent. So, I decided to create a simple daily routine that included different activities like reading, listening, speaking, and writing. I divided my time into short sessions so that I wouldn't feel overwhelmed. Let me share with you what my daily routine looked like and how I practiced each skill. In the morning, I tried to start my day with some English exposure. One of my favorite things to do was listening to English podcasts while having breakfast or getting ready for the day. I found beginner-friendly podcasts that used simple words and slow speech. At first, I couldn't understand everything, but I didn't let that stop me. I focused on catching the main idea, and over time, my listening skills improved. After listening, I practiced speaking. Since I didn't have anyone to talk to, I used a simple method. I talked to myself. Yes, I know it sounds funny, but it really helped me. I stood in front of the mirror and spoke about my plans for the day. I would say things like, "Today, I will go to the market and buy some vegetables," or "I have a lot of work to do today." Talking to myself helped me think in English and improve my pronunciation. Another thing I did in the morning was shadowing. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to a native speaker and try to repeat what they say at the same time. I used to watch short English videos and repeat after the speaker. It was difficult at first because they spoke quickly, but I kept trying. This helped me improve my pronunciation and speaking rhythm. In the afternoon, I focused more on reading and writing. I started with simple reading materials, like children's books and beginner-level articles. I found websites that had news written in easy English. Reading helped me learn new words and understand sentence structure better. I made a habit of reading at least one short story or article every day. Whenever I found a new word, I wrote it down in my notebook. I didn't just write the word, I also wrote an example sentence to remember how to use it. For example, if I learned the word excited, I would write, "I am excited to learn English." This method helped me remember words better. Writing was another important part of my daily practice. Every day, I wrote a short paragraph about my life. I wrote about my daily activities, my thoughts, and my goals. Writing helped me organize my thoughts in English and practice grammar. Sometimes, I used language learning apps to check my writing and correct my mistakes. One of the biggest challenges I faced with writing was grammar. English grammar has many rules, and sometimes they were confusing. One of the biggest challenges I faced with writing was grammar. English grammar has many rules, and sometimes they were confusing. To improve my grammar, I started using grammar apps and watching YouTube lessons on specific topics like tenses, prepositions, and sentence structure. I didn't try to learn everything at once. Instead, I focused on one grammar rule at a time. In the evening, I relaxed a bit but still practiced English in a fun way. I watched English movies or TV shows with subtitles. Watching movies was one of my favorite ways to learn because it didn't feel like studying. I tried to watch movies with simple dialogues and repeated scenes that I didn't understand. One thing I did was choose a short scene from a movie and watch it several times. First, I watched it with subtitles, then without subtitles. I tried to repeat the sentences and act like the characters. This not only improved my listening but also my speaking skills. Before going to bed, I reviewed what I had learned during the day. I went through my notebook and revised new words and grammar points. I also practiced pronunciation by reading aloud. Reading out loud helped me improve my speaking fluency and confidence. On weekends, I tried to do different activities to keep learning interesting. Sometimes I watched travel vlogs or cooking videos in English to learn new vocabulary. Other times, I played English learning games online. One weekend, I decided to challenge myself by writing an email in English to a friend who was also learning English. It was a great way to practice writing in a real situation. I also joined online language forums where I could ask questions and read discussions in English. I remember feeling frustrated when I couldn't understand native speakers or when I made the same mistakes again and again. But I reminded myself that learning a language is a journey, and progress takes time. One strategy that helped me stay motivated was tracking my progress. I made a small calendar and marked each day that I practiced English. Seeing the marks on the calendar made me feel proud and motivated me to continue. One strategy that helped me stay motivated was tracking my progress. I made a small calendar and marked each day that I practiced English. Seeing the marks on the calendar made me feel proud and motivated me to continue. Another challenge I faced was finding the right balance. Sometimes I focused too much on one skill, like listening, and forgot about other skills, like writing or speaking. I realized that a good routine should include all aspects of the language: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. If you want to improve your English, my advice is to practice a little bit every day. You don't have to study for hours, just 15 to 30 minutes a day can make a big difference. Try to include different activities in your routine so that you don't get bored. Find things you enjoy, like watching movies, reading interesting articles, or listening to music in English. The more fun you have, the easier it will be to stay motivated. And most importantly, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning, and every mistake helps you improve. So, that's how I practiced English every day. It wasn't always easy, but it was definitely worth it. In the next part, I'll share the mistakes I made and what I learned from them. Alright, everyone, let me be honest with you. When I started learning English, I made a lot of mistakes. And you know what? That's completely normal. Mistakes are part of the learning process, and without them, I wouldn't have improved. But at the time, I didn't realize this. I used to feel frustrated and even embarrassed when I made mistakes. I thought, what if people laugh at me? What if I never get better? But over time, I learned that making mistakes is actually a good thing because they help us grow. One of the first mistakes made was spending too much time on grammar. I thought that if I memorized all the grammar rules I would be able to speak English perfectly. Studied grammar books, did exercises, and tried to learn everything about tenses, prepositions, and sentence structure. But when it came to speaking, I couldn't say anything. The problem was that I was afraid of making grammar mistakes, so I would hesitate before speaking. I would think, should I say, I have been, or I had been? Is this the right tense? And in the end, I didn't say anything at all. I realized that focusing too much on grammar was actually slowing me down. What I learned from this mistake is that grammar is important, but it's not everything. Another big mistake I made was being too afraid to speak English. I thought that if I made mistakes, people would laugh at me or judge me, so I avoided speaking for a long time. Even when I had the chance to talk to someone in English, I stayed quiet. I kept waiting until I felt ready, but the truth is, you will never feel completely ready. One day, I realized that my fear was holding me back. Told myself, if I want to get better, I need to start speaking, even if I make mistakes. So I started small. Instead of focusing only on grammar, try to learn phrases and practice speaking as much as possible. So today, I want to share some of the biggest mistakes I made when learning English. Hopefully, you can learn from them and avoid making the same ones. And remember, if you're making mistakes, it means you're trying, and that's what matters. I practiced speaking alone at home, then I tried talking to myself in my head throughout the day. Eventually, I found online language exchange partners and started speaking with real people. What I learned is that mistakes are normal when speaking a new language. Nobody is perfect, and most people are kind and understanding. The more you speak, the more confident you become, so don't be afraid, just start speaking, even if it's not perfect at first. I thought that reading and writing were enough to learn English. I spent hours reading books and writing sentences, but when I tried to watch a movie or talk to a native speaker, I couldn't understand anything. My listening skills improved. After listening, I practiced speaking. Since I didn't have anyone to talk to, I used a simple method. I talked to myself. Yes, I know it sounds funny, but it really helped me. I stood in front of the mirror and spoke about my plans for the day. I would say things like, "Today, I will go to the market and buy some vegetables," or "I have a lot of work to do today." Talking to myself helped me think in English and improve my pronunciation. Another thing I did in the morning was shadowing. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to a native speaker and try to repeat what they say at the same time. I used to watch short English videos and repeat after the speaker. It was difficult at first because they spoke quickly, but I kept trying. This helped me improve my pronunciation and speaking rhythm. In the afternoon, I focused more on reading and writing. I started with simple reading materials, like children's books and beginner-level articles. I found websites that had news written in easy English. Reading helped me learn new words and understand sentence structure better. I made a habit of reading at least one short story or article every day. Whenever I found a new word, I wrote it down in my notebook. I didn't just write the word, I also wrote an example sentence to remember how to use it. For example, if I learned the word excited, I would write, "I am excited to learn English." This method helped me remember words better. Writing was another important part of my daily practice. Every day, I wrote a short paragraph about my life. I wrote about my daily activities, my thoughts, and my goals. Writing helped me organize my thoughts in English and practice grammar. Sometimes, I used language learning apps to check my writing and correct my mistakes. One of the biggest challenges I faced with writing was grammar. English grammar has many rules, and sometimes they were confusing. One of the biggest challenges I faced with writing was grammar. English grammar has many rules, and sometimes they were confusing. To improve my grammar, I started using grammar apps and watching YouTube lessons on specific topics like tenses, prepositions, and sentence structure. I didn't try to learn everything at once. Instead, I focused on one grammar rule at a time. In the evening, I relaxed a bit but still practiced English in a fun way. I watched English movies or TV shows with subtitles. Watching movies was one of my favorite ways to learn because it didn't feel like studying. I tried to watch movies with simple dialogues and repeated scenes that I didn't understand. One thing I did was choose a short scene from a movie and watch it several times. First, I watched it with subtitles, then without subtitles. I tried to repeat the sentences and act like the characters. This not only improved my listening but also my speaking skills. Before going to bed, I reviewed what I had learned during the day. My listening skills improved. After listening, I practiced speaking. Since I didn't have anyone to talk to, I used a simple method. I talked to myself. Yes, I know it sounds funny, but it really helped me. I stood in front of the mirror and spoke about my plans for the day. I would say things like, "Today, I will go to the market and buy some vegetables," or "I have a lot of work to do today." Talking to myself helped me think in English and improve my pronunciation. Another thing I did in the morning was shadowing. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to a native speaker and try to repeat what they say at the same time. I used to watch short English videos and repeat after the speaker. It was difficult at first because they spoke quickly, but I kept trying. This helped me improve my pronunciation and speaking rhythm. In the afternoon, I focused more on reading and writing. I started with simple reading materials, like children's books and beginner-level articles. I found websites that had news written in easy English. Reading helped me learn new words and understand sentence structure better. I made a habit of reading at least one short story or article every day. Whenever I found a new word, I wrote it down in my notebook. I didn't just write the word, I also wrote an example sentence to remember how to use it. For example, if I learned the word excited, I would write, "I am excited to learn English." This method helped me remember words better. Writing was another important part of my daily practice. Every day, I wrote a short paragraph about my life. I wrote about my daily activities, my thoughts, and my goals. Writing helped me organize my thoughts in English and practice grammar. Sometimes, I used language learning apps to check my writing and correct my mistakes. One of the biggest challenges I faced with writing was grammar. English grammar has many rules, and sometimes they were confusing. One of the biggest challenges I faced with writing was grammar. English grammar has many rules, and sometimes they were confusing. To improve my grammar, I started using grammar apps and watching YouTube lessons on specific topics like tenses, prepositions, and sentence structure. I didn't try to learn everything at once. Instead, I focused on one grammar rule at a time. In the evening, I relaxed a bit but still practiced English in a fun way. I watched English movies or TV shows with subtitles. Watching movies was one of my favorite ways to learn because it didn't feel like studying. I tried to watch movies with simple dialogues and repeated scenes that I didn't understand. One thing I did was choose a short scene from a movie and watch it several times. First, I watched it with subtitles, then without subtitles. I tried to repeat the sentences and act like the characters. This not only improved my listening but also my speaking skills. Before going to bed, I reviewed what I had learned during the day. When you read, your brain gets used to the words. It helps you remember how to say them. When you read out loud, you also practice speaking. Start with easy books. You can even read children's books or short articles online. As you get better, you can read harder books. Every time you read, you will improve your confidence. You can also keep a journal, write about your day or your thoughts in English. It doesn't need to be perfect, just write what you can. Writing helps you practice and improves your vocabulary. The more you write, the better you get at speaking too. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That if you don't understand something, ask someone. People will be happy to help you. Asking questions is a great way to learn faster. Another way to feel more confident is by speaking with others who are also learning English. Find a group or a partner to practice with. You can help each other. You can talk about anything, even simple things like the weather or your favorite food. Also, remember that learning English takes time. It's okay if you don't know everything now. Every day, you are getting better. With time, you will notice that you are more confident when you speak. There will be times when you feel discouraged. Maybe you feel like you are not improving fast enough, but don't give up. Keep practicing even when it feels hard. You are moving forward. Think of learning English like building a wall. At first, it may seem slow, but each time you practice, you are adding a brick. Slowly, the wall gets bigger and stronger. One day, you will look back and see how much you have built. When I was learning, I had many moments of doubt that I would ask myself, am I really getting better? But then I realized that every small step was helping me. Every time I spoke, I became more confident. So, don't let fear stop you. Keep practicing every day. Speak even when you feel scared. With every mistake, you are getting better. Believe in yourself. You can do this. Chapter 4. Hello again. Today, we will talk about how to build your vocabulary. Learning new words is an important part of learning English. The more words you know, the easier it will be to speak and understand others. When I started learning English, I didn't know many words, but I didn't give up. That I started learning new words every day. Little by little, my vocabulary grew. The first step is to learn the most common words. These are words that people use every day. Words like hello, goodbye, please, and thank you are used in almost every conversation. Start with these simple words. Once you know some basic words, try to learn words related to your daily life. For example, learn words for things you use at home, like table, chair, food, and bathroom. When you know words for the things around you, it's easier to talk about them. Another way to learn new words is by reading. When you read books, websites, or even social media posts in English, you will see many new words. Also, try to listen to conversations in movies or TV shows. People speak differently than in lessons. They use slang, idioms, and different speeds. This will help you sound more natural when you speak. When you listen, try to relax. Don't worry if you don't understand everything. Just enjoy the process of learning. The more relaxed you are, the easier it will be to focus on the sounds and words. Remember, you don't need to understand everything in the beginning. With practice, you will slowly improve. Over time, you will be able to understand longer and more complicated conversations. Another tip is to listen with a purpose. Before you listen to something, decide what you want to learn. Maybe you want to learn new vocabulary or practice listening for the main idea. This will help you stay focused. It also helps to listen for patterns in the language. For example, listen to how sentences are built. Pay attention to common phrases and expressions. This will help you use them in your own speaking and writing. As you improve, you'll find that listening becomes easier. You'll be able to understand faster and feel more comfortable with the language. The key is to keep listening every day. Finally, don't give up. Listening is hard at first, but with practice, it gets easier. Keep going, and soon you will be able to understand English like a native speaker. Remember, learning English is a journey. Every step you take, even listening to a short clip, is progress. Keep practicing, and soon you'll be able to understand and enjoy all the English you hear. You can do this. Chapter 6. Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about speaking with confidence. Speaking English can be scary at first, but the more you practice, the more confident you will become. When I started learning English, I was afraid to speak. I worried about making mistakes. I was scared people would laugh at me, but I learned that making mistakes is part of the process. The first step to speaking confidently is to stop worrying about mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. The important thing is to keep trying. When you try, you learn and get better. One way to feel more confident is to practice speaking every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Speaking often will help you improve. You can practice by talking to yourself. You can ask yourself questions and answer them. This may feel a little silly, but it helps you get comfortable with speaking. Another great way to practice is by finding a language partner. A language partner is someone who also wants to practice English. You can talk to them in English. They can help you, and you can help them. If you don't have a partner, try joining an English group. Many people around the world want to practice speaking. You can meet them online, practice with them, and you'll get better at speaking English. It's important to talk about things you enjoy. If you talk about things you like, it will be easier to speak. For example, if you like movies, talk about your favorite movies in English. If you like sports, talk about your favorite teams. This will make speaking more fun and help you remember new words. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you don't know a word. If you don't know how to say something, just ask. Most people will be happy to help you. You can also practice speaking by reading out loud. Find a book, article, or even a website in English and read it out loud. This will help you improve your pronunciation and get used to speaking English. Sometimes, speaking can feel hard because you don't know many words, but don't let that stop you. You don't need to know big words to speak well. It's more important to use simple words and speak clearly. If you can say what you mean, people will understand you. Another tip is to speak slowly. When you speak too quickly, it's easy to make mistakes or get nervous. Speaking slowly will help you think about your words and say them more clearly. It also makes you sound more confident. When I first started speaking, I would get nervous, but I learned that it's okay to take a pause. If you need a moment to think, just pause and breathe. It's normal to need time to think of the right words. You should also listen carefully when other people speak. When you listen, you learn new words and how to use them. It also helps you know when it's your turn to speak. Practice listening and speaking together. This will help you improve both skills. Don't worry if people don't understand you the first time. Just try again, speak clearly, and if you still have trouble, ask the person to repeat what they said. You can also practice speaking with songs. Sing along to your favorite English songs. This will help you improve your pronunciation and get used to the rhythm of English. Singing can be fun, and it's a good way to practice. Another way to practice speaking is by repeating what you hear. Listen to a sentence in English and try to say it exactly the same way. This will help you learn how to say the words correctly and improve your speaking.